So, doing a quick recording here of Fortnite Chapter 2. We are playing on an RX 570 paired with the X5670 CPU. The settings that we're going to be playing on here today are known as Pro settings. We've got Epic View Distance with everything else set to low or off, all at 1920 by 1080p. And I do have MSI Afterburner running in the top left-hand corner of the screen, so you can keep an eye out there on the frame rate counter, as well as the, of course, CPU, GPU usage, and frame time. So you got 4 different statistics to keep an eye out on there. And yeah, we are recording using Radeon Relive, which allows us to game and record simultaneously, which is really nice. It allows me to, yeah, play the game, record it, and with very minimal performance impact. So yeah, what you're seeing here is what you can expect. Obviously, like you can play a little bit more comfortably when you're not recording, but yeah, recording doesn't really affect it too much. But yeah, we dropped in a pretty busy area here, retail row. See if we can't save our teammate and whatever. All right, we do have 2 weapons, but that's probably not going to cut it. Let's see if we can't find a shotgun in here or something. Says there's a chest on the other side, I believe. Let's just see. Nothing there, so we're just going to continue moving through. Currently around 100 frames per second here on Pro settings. It's nothing too impressive, but it's nothing like to scoff at either. It's pretty decent. Nice thing about the CPU, we do have those 6 cores and 12 threads, so it offers a really solid and smooth frame rate. Alright, looks like Buddy's here, so we're just going to go over to the reboot van and reboot our teammate quickly. Hopefully we don't get shot in the back, obviously. But yeah, the plan will be to land, reboot our teammate, and then slowly just move ourselves around the map. Of course, so that you can also get a better idea of how the system will perform on other parts. But overall, I'd say you can average about 100 frames per second. Certain parts of the map you can get higher, up to about 140, 150 FPS. But just for this area where we landed, it seems to be staying around that 100 frames per second mark. Alrighty. I'm just going to stick with our teammate here. Yeah, you can definitely see there is a lot of action going on around us. Alright, let's swap our shotgun in first slot there. And yeah, if you keep an eye out on those 2 graphs there, you'll be able to see the frame rate graph, which will show you how consistent or inconsistent the frame rate is, because that'll show you if there's any spikes or any lags or glitches or stuff like that. Let's grab this submachine gun, let's reload it, and yeah, we're pretty much set. We'll drop this here. Alrighty, we'll continue moving through retail row. Kind of the same deal, frame rate around 100 FPS. I don't know what he wants. Alright, but let's move, we're just going to move over to Lazy Lake area. Oh my god, this is ridiculous. Did you want that or what? Alright, let's continue moving along. I think you might need ammo or something like that. Alrighty, we're going to move down to Lazy Lake. This is more, I guess, not central on the map, but we're playing down here on the southeast side of the map. You can see overlooking here, it does go down to about 80 frames per second, 70 frames, which honestly is not ideal, but I mean, hey, it's still pretty decent, and your frame rate will be a little better when you are not recording, just because that does put a little bit of a toll on your system. Yeah, as well, something to mention that you can play with higher settings and you will get still a very comparable frame rate. I think you can play on epic settings around 60 frames per second on average, high settings around 80 to 90, medium settings probably around the same that we're getting here on low settings, just because we are a little bit single core bottlenecked, or single core performance bottlenecked is what I would call it. Which basically means that because this is an older Xeon, it doesn't have as good, I guess, what you'd call single core performance. But the reason why it's still very usable today is because it has very good multi-core performance, because it has 6 cores and 12 threads. So it kind of makes up what it lacks in single core performance with its multiple cores. And the nice thing is with these newer games, a lot of these new game engines, I mean, a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them are able to utilize multiple cores and multiple threads, so it makes these systems still very usable. Alright, looks like his teammates here. Holy smokes, we just took a ton of damage. Just concerned that those grenades are gonna blow up in our face. Alright. We're just gonna jump out of here, just because I'm not exactly sure what we'll do otherwise. Right, I can see him up top there. We're sitting around that 80-90 frames per second mark. This is also good so that you have an idea on the quote worst case scenario what you can expect. Holy smokes, triple headshot there. It's really nice. I'm just so glad we're not dead yet. Yeah, but it looks like we can clean up a little bit of this loot. Looks like our teammate's picking it up, but I mean, hey, that's what a team's for. Oh my god, we are taking that gold pump. No problemo. Yeah, because we triple headshotted him, so I mean, of course we'll take that, but yeah, as you can tell, the frame rate's been really smooth and consistent the whole time. Obviously, having a higher frame rate would be more ideal, like if you had 200 frames per second, for example, but I think getting around that 100 FPS mark, if you are on a budget and you're looking to play like a game like Fortnite on competitive settings, is still a really, I think, really comparable, something that you can be happy with. But obviously, if you need 200 frames per second, this is definitely not the system for you. But as well, in this video, I won't be testing high or medium or low settings, but if you do want those settings tested, you can always reach out via YouTube comments or just send me a message, and I can always help answer any of those kind of questions, like, oh, how would Fortnite run on Epic settings? So I already went over like a frame rate idea of what you could expect. Like I said, Epic settings around 60 frames per second. Obviously, if you also know how to, or if you do a little bit of research on how to overclock / undervolt, basically summarize in English, how to optimize the graphics card like the RX 570, which we're using here, then you will be able to squeeze out a little bit more performance. I'm just playing on stock settings here just because I figure most of us are not going to be overclocking or undervolting our card. But it does make a difference. You can, like, I know for if you're playing on Epic settings, you can get another like 10% performance just from knowing how to put the right settings in on your graphics card. And the biggest thing when you're overclocking or undervolting or whatever you'd like to call it is just keep an eye out on the temperatures, and you're pretty much set from there. Right, we are in the next zone. Yeah, we'll just grab this medkit. We'll pop it now, because I mean we're at 75 HP, so going to 100 isn't too big of a deal. But yeah, you can see kind of consistently around that 100 FPS mark, but as you'll notice on that left hand side of the screen, you're not seeing any big dips, and the frame rate is very consistent. So for example, our 1% low might only be in the 80s, and what I mean by that is, okay, we might have a 123, 124 frames per second, but our 1% low number, which you can observe in the top right hand corner of the screen, is only in the 90s, low or high 80s actually. So the difference between your frame rate and your 1% low number is only about 30 frames per second, which is about 25%, so you will not have any real stutter or anything like that. So, yeah, if that was too complicated, don't worry. All it means is that the game's running nice and smooth. Alright, we are pretty much set here in Lazy Lake. I think we just ran in a circle. Yeah, I think we should head over closer to the center of the mountain, but I mean, there's a couple options. It looks like there's a boat in the distance over there, so I'm just going to ping that. So yeah, we're probably just going to sit tight, see if any other players come around our way. We'll see if we can't take them out. But for now, I think we should really get some mats. That'll really help. And there are players, and we do need to fight in combat. Yeah, if you're on a budget and you are looking to build something like this on the X58 platform, this is definitely a viable option. Obviously, there's also the X79 platform as well as the X99 platform, both of which cost a little bit more. Well, the X99 costs quite a bit more. But those are also great options because those will allow you to buy those higher core count chips, which will allow you to game and stream simultaneously. at a really nice smooth frame rate. So yeah, there's so many great system options these days. So I mean, yeah, you're never without options. Alrighty, we're just gonna climb up top here, see if we can't spot some other players in the distance. Obviously this is not ideal because we could get sniped very easily being up here. And I don't really see anyone in the distance. Oh, there's someone right here. I saw footsteps, so. Oh. Alright, looks like someone is here. Oh, 2 people are here. We gotta be careful. Maybe you come up here, top here, bud. Alright. Oh my goodness, that was terrible. But anyways, that's going to conclude our recording there. Again, we were testing the X5670 paired with the RX 570 video card on Pro settings, which is epic view distance and everything else set to low or off, all at 1920 by 1080p, and we were recording utilizing the AMD encoder, which is part of the RX 570 graphics card. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out. Of course, comments are appreciated. If you are looking to build a system like this, definitely reach out. I'd be curious to know what you're kind of looking at, what kind of parts, and what kind of CPU you're going for. And yeah, hopefully this has helped you out in some sort of way. And yeah, thanks for watching. Cheers.